Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt the Witcher and today I will be reviewing Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first season of Castlevania Nocturne was enjoyable, and while it has been some time since I watched it, I feel my opinion wouldn't really change on it. I thought the characters and the story were decent, but nowhere near the quality of the original show. That is not to say that the first season was bad. I give it about a 7, with plenty of things I liked about it, mainly some of the characters like Olrox and Nanette, which were the highlights for me. That being said, the ending was enough to make me want to watch the next season. Sue me, but I see Alucard and I'll watch. But Matt, that's just nostalgia. Yeah, pretty much. This season follows a tradition in the Castlevania series, that being that the main cast splits off before it joining up at the end of the season. The first group, which I think is the best of the two, was Richter and Annette traveling with Alucard to Paris. While the plot surrounding Paris is sort of a get the magical source of power valuable to the enemy plot, I feel the enjoyable part about this was the characters. Richter and Annette have a good dynamic, same as last season, and Alucard was a nice change of pace compared to their younger personalities and sensibilities. He kind of plays the role of Sypha from the original series, in my opinion, and seeing him in this mentor role was probably the best part of the season, in my opinion. The second plot revolves around Maria and Just Belmont, with a bit of Maria's mother sprinkled in, who is now a vampire. There's also Ulrux and Mizrock in this part of the season. To a lesser extent, though, they're not as involved as they usually are, at least in the last season. I would go deeper into the plot between these characters, but honestly, without spoilers, I don't think I can. Maria goes sicko mode, if that makes sense. Now, the plot of Castlevania has never been the best thing about it. I mean, it's not bad. Definitely not in the first series, but it's just usually when I think of Castlevania, I think of the characters. So I don't know. I think it makes up for it in the characters, especially this season. Speaking of characters, so I think I'll just go through the main cast and say what I think about them this season. Is this the most effective way? I don't know. I'm a dipshit, but let's do this. So Richter Belmont is better this season. He still has that Belmont charm to him, not just in his humor, but in the way he acts with the crazy stuff happening around him. I really believe Alucard makes Richter shine as a character in the season. Plus, he's actually competent now, which I love, especially in the fight scenes, but I'll get to that a little later. I really enjoyed Annette in the first season, and she gets more to do in the second season. She's a lot more emotional in this season, but not in an annoying way, if that makes sense. Her relationship with Richter is a joy to watch, definitely one of my favorite things about the season, as well as her overarching plot. I won't get too much into to avoid spoilers, but I thought her powers and the way that they delved into it this season was pretty interesting. Maria was better this season, but I'm still not sold on her as a character. Like I said before, I feel like I can't go into Maria this season without spoilers. Her arc is interesting, just not her as a character, if that makes sense. I will say, Just Belmont is the highlight of the season, mainly his interactions with Maria. A good side character that I'm glad got more attention this season. I also really enjoyed the subplot between Olrox and Mizrock this season. I also really enjoyed their arc in the first season, so I guess it makes sense that I like it in this one too. I don't really have any complaints. Maybe that it could have been a little more fleshed out, but with everything else going on, I can understand why they didn't. Ulrux is about the only vampire I like, though. Which brings me to Erzsébet and Drolta. Easily the worst part of the season, to be honest. I hated Drolta in the first season, and while she's a little more tolerable this season, her resurrection was kind of annoying to me. I don't know, man, but it seems like they're trying to replicate what they did with Carmilla from the first show, but I think it falls flat in this case. You know, Carmilla was threatening and proved it with her actions, but it seems like Erzsébet and Drolta say how powerful they are instead of showing it, if that makes sense. And not to spoil anything, but the surprise twist between these two characters is so obvious it was just dumb. As for Alucard this season, he was definitely the highlight. Sometimes when characters like this are introduced, it comes off as forced and kind of cheesy, but they did it well. He actually had stuff to do, and it wasn't like, oh yeah, here's Alucard, you remember him, right? I also feel like they did well balancing his skill. He's dominant, but not to the point where you'll think he'll just win every fight. I'll also briefly mention Edouard. He doesn't get much to do this season, but he wasn't a highlight for me in the first season, so I wasn't really too disappointed in his lack of importance. I like his arc well enough in this season, just I don't think I care much about him as a character, but his arc wasn't that bad. Now, I won't act like I know anything about animation, but I do watch a lot of animated stuff. The animation, as always, is stellar, with some great cinematic moments that really hit. This doesn't come as a shock, as I'm sure the same animators who worked on the original show returned for this one. The fight scenes, especially at the end of the season, really stand out to me. Where they, As cool as the fight between Alucard or Dracula or Trevor and Death? No, but the fight scenes were nonetheless intriguing and well animated. The show nails the color palette of Castlevania while adding a little more brightness to separate it from the original show. The one complaint I did have about the animation was the walking animations. They look kind of dumb and unnatural, and I don't think I ever had this problem with the original series. It might seem like a nitpick, but characters, walk everywhere, so it is quite noticeable. So, with that being said, I would still recommend this season for long term fans and even for new fans. While the villains and plot could have been better written, the season still shines with character dynamics and some really great fight scenes at the end. All in all, I would say this was a slight improvement over season 1. If season 1 was like a 7, I'd give this a 7.5. So, what do you guys think? Do you hate this season, love it, or just indifferent? Well, let me know in the comments, and I will catch you in the next one.